It is a breaking news edition of the BamaOnLine podcast. Travis Reier, senior analyst for BOL, alongside site publisher Tim Watts. And Tim, you know what this means, right? Must be another Alabama football commitment. That is absolutely the case. This time, an in-state target at the tight end position is Jay Lindsey of Butler, Alabama, previously committed to the Mississippi State Bulldogs, has flipped that commitment to the Alabama Crimson Tide.
Yeah, this is an interesting recruit because he committed. I think a lot of people had him penciled in for Vanderbilt early on. Ended up committing to Mississippi State. Let me be clear. He liked the Mississippi State coaching staff. He likes Starkville. I don't think at the end of the day this decision was as easy as many people are just going to assume it was. Now, he comes from a very pro-Alabama family. I think, that's several people, including the people around his high school football program. They talk about it. His dad is a high school coach, very family-oriented group. So I imagine, there's a lot of Alabama pride there amongst them. So you would have thought this happened maybe quicker and easier. But, I think Alabama had to work, a little bit here. You had him. Jay came to camp and got the offer, and he's been kind of quiet since the offer, which is kind of a telltale that he's pondering some stuff. But on that cookout weekend, that last visitor weekend before the August dead period, he came up. He brought his family. His dad, I believe, came for the first time. So all those things kind of pointed to Alabama. I think the dilemma was probably like figuring out how to do it. And everything I've heard about him and the family, they wanted to do it the right way and handle it correctly. And, I know they put a lot of thought into this, but earned that offer in camp. Freddie Roach led the way here, did a really good job. Joe Cox, again, we're hearing his name more and more, was hands-on, of course, with the tight end, just like he was with Caleb Odom. And I think Alabama, Bama fans love to say, whether it's a basketball player or a tennis player commits, they want to know if he can play tight end. Well, Bama has two in this class committed that can play tight end, because Jay Lindsey, and he's going to join Caleb Odom, who, we've seen and talked about him a lot, kind of that flex tight end. He can do so many things for you. And Jay, I call him an inline tight end because between the two, the one most likely to get at the end of the line of scrimmage and block is going to be Jay Lindsey. But don't get it wrong that he can't catch the football. He did that in camp in front of the Tide coaches. He really impressed them. He's playing small football, which is always hard to evaluate, that. But his defensive film, he shows a lot of ability. He's got a lot of mirror. He can, left and right, his flexibility. Big guy, just absolutely dominating. So there's a lot to like there. And Bama got that kind of inside-outside duo they wanted.
Yeah, you said it. You watch his tape and understanding it is academy football in the state of Alabama, but he does what he's supposed to do as a man amongst boys on his tape. And it isn't just on offense, where he does show you he can catch the football, and certainly he's more than capable as a blocker. But you said it, as a defensive end, he's a real problem from that position as well. And look, at the end of the day, the way Alabama recruits, you got to validate your status in front of the Alabama staff, typically, right, in Tuscaloosa. There's no hiding from that aspect of the evaluation process. Essentially, at some point, whatever level of football you play, you got to do it there in Tuscaloosa to garner that offer status.
Yeah, and another thing about camp, it's not just about seeing them physically. They see them in the spring at high school games. They see kind of what they can do at practice and all that. But, obviously it helps to see, big on big. You're seeing Jay Lindsey go against somebody at that camp who's probably going to college, which you're not seeing at his high school. You're not seeing him go against that, that big outside linebacker that he's got to block, that edge rusher, that defensive end. You're not seeing him trying to get open against the linebacker that has similar traits to him. So you see that in camp, but also it's about the mindset. I think the last two classes have been so important of kind of finding what they feel gels together in that locker room. I think most staffs try to do that, but I think for Alabama, these last two classes or so, maybe three, have been super important that they get around them to make sure they're kind of what they're looking for mentally as well as physically.
So what does this mean for the Alabama class moving forward, Tim? I would think at the tight end position, Alabama feels like it's fine with the pairing that you talked about Odom and Lindsey. But just in terms of how this class is coming together, when you look at the different areas of the football team, where do you feel like things stand right now?
I feel like offensively, you got to they're hitting on all cylinders with their quarterback. Um, they've got wide receivers, they got skill guys. And I think Caleb Odom, I don't think he's a wide receiver per se, like we're used to seeing a wide receiver, but I think he's more of a wide receiver than your standard tight end. So I think there's some versatility there when you look at them. They've got offensive linemen they like. I think the class overall, I think it's kind of more offensive minded than defensive minded, right? Even though they've got inside backers they like, still need some edge, still need some defensive linemen, probably want to add a safety, guys like that. I still think offensively they've really, really hit home runs on what they wanted. I mean, you can absolutely throw the rankings out the window for the most part. And again, the one thing about it is that when you work with Charles Power, the way he works is so advanced. This isn't a shot at anybody. And they can take it like that if they want. I don't care. But Charles works so hard and so far in advance when it comes to evaluating films. He's often ahead of the people. He moves a lot faster. Now, other people might move in a group and they might have a calendar on when to do it. Charles is moving at his own pace. And I mean, it's a brisk pace. So he's often going to be ahead of guys that other people catch up to eventually in December. And he's been that way. When we were at 24/7, he was the same way. He kind of sets that tone and he kind of moves fast. So I think some of these rankings are a little misleading. I think you're going to see guys that go up in the rankings as the year continues.
There you go. Jay Lindsey, 6'4", 235-pound tight end from Patrician Academy in Butler, Alabama, makes the move to Alabama, previously committed to Mississippi State. Hey, Tim, who knows? Maybe we'll be talking again here soon. And if we do go a little while, we'll both be on the roundtable at BamaOnLine.com. Too much stuff going on right now, right?
It's what it is. I mean, we had such a busy June. I mean, we moved over from 24/7 to On3, and that was busy in itself. And then you had all the camps and stuff in June. Then in July, you had the commitment run. And then we get to August, and the commitments are still trickling in. But now we got football. And that kind of changes that board's mentality where you go from, a million questions about recruiting to now asking about the team. So we got plenty to talk about.
Absolutely. And would love to do it with you at BamaOnLine.com, the roundtable, the premium message board of choice for Alabama fans around the globe. Come hang out with us right now. Tim Watts, myself, Andrew Bone, Joseph Hastings, Clint Lamb, Jimmy Stein, and of course, Charlie Potter. We can't forget about Chuck. We're all going to be there. Never. We're going to be there hanging out. You need to do it with us. For Tim Watts, Travis Reier, thanking you once again for joining us right here on the BamaOnLine podcast. Until next time, so long, everybody.